Imagine you're a rising star in your country, a model, influencer, activist, making waves, breaking norms, and living your truth. Then one day, you're found dead in your apartment, stabbed 28 times by your ex. Yeah, that happened. This is the wild, tragic, absolutely messed up story of Kesaria Abramidze, Georgia's most iconic transgender model, and a monster of an ex-boyfriend who couldn't handle her light, so he tried to erase it. Kesaria was born on August 18, 1987, in Tbilisi. That's Georgia the country, not Georgia the state. Kesaria grew up in a culture that wasn't exactly waving rainbow flags. But despite growing up in a conservative society, she knew who she was. She didn't just transition, she transformed her entire life. By her 30s, she was everywhere. Magazines, TV, fashion shows. She represented Georgia at Miss Trans Star International in 2018. She was the first openly transgender person on national television in Georgia. Not just breaking barriers, straight up kicking them. She blew up with over 500,000 followers on Instagram. She was very beautiful, but her rise to fame wasn't just glitz and glam. She was an activist too. Spoke up for women's rights, domestic violence survivors, and the LGBTQ plus community. She once said, "I am a woman and I'm not afraid to live as one." Now, this is Beka Jaiani. He's 26, average dude from Georgia. No modeling gigs, no followers, no vibe. What he did have, apparently, was anger issues, a fragile ego, and toxic masculinity on steroids. Beka and Kesaria had an on and off situationship for around 2 years. And if you thought Euphoria had drama, you haven't seen this mess. Friends say the relationship was violent and controlling. Monitored her phone, dictated what she could wear, and if he disapproved, he beat her. He even degraded her identity. Witnesses say he regularly told Kesaria she was a man and beat her almost every day. To quote the Georgian prosecutor, he'd sometimes refer to her as a mistake of nature. So yeah, this was far from romance. According to prosecutors, Beka was obsessed with her, but not in the good way. Publicly, Kesaria didn't hide who she was. In fact, just hours before her death, Kesaria put up an Instagram/FB story of the two of them smiling together. According to reports, that photo might have lit the fuse. Perhaps Beka didn't want their relationship out there. In his own words, he said, "Kesaria told me to make our relations public. I told her to break up. It's Georgia after all. I can't do that." From the next day, she started posting videos that would irritate any man. "I decided to kill her." Meanwhile, friends say their fights were constant and brutal. One friend remembers hearing screams and seeing bruises on Kesaria's body. Kesaria herself had even fled abroad for a while in April 2024, claiming she feared for her life after being attacked by a former partner. None of this was exactly perfect match vibes. So what happened next was a nightmare. On the night of September 18th, 2024, things took a dark turn. Kesaria was found in her own apartment on the outskirts of Tbilisi, brutally stabbed to death. Georgian authorities classified it as a premeditated murder with special cruelty motivated by gender hatred. Evidence showed she suffered multiple stab wounds, a total of 28, according to prosecutors, because apparently once wasn't enough for Mr. Jealous. Surveillance footage captured Beka entering and leaving the building within 14 minutes of the crime, and neighbors reportedly heard a fight and found Kesaria covered in blood shortly after. In his own recorded confession, yep, he did confess on tape. Beka admitted he bought a knife near his office that day and then stabbed her. Here's the surveillance footage. Shockingly quickly, police caught Beka. He didn't flee far. They nabbed him the next day near Kutaisi Airport as he tried to leave the country. By April 2025, the trial was over and done. The Tbilisi City Court found 26-year-old Beka Jaiani guilty on all counts, from aggravated murder with cruelty to a gender-based hate crime, and sentenced him to life in prison. He skipped court that day, saying he was too upset to be there, but not to worry. The judge handed down a life term anyway. His lawyer vowed to appeal, grumbling that the verdict was based solely on moral considerations. But honestly, after 28 stabbings and a mountain of evidence, the appeal odds are really slim. Meanwhile, Kesaria's supporters held a vigil in central Tbilisi. Dozens gathered by candlelight, laying flowers and praising her as a symbol of strength and freedom. The timing was chilling. Her murder came just one day after Georgia's parliament passed a controversial anti-LGBT law that clamped down on same-sex marriage, pride, and gender-affirming care. Critics couldn't ignore the irony. Some feared this kind of hateful rhetoric might have made the tragedy more likely. Here's the thing. When I first heard this story, I thought I might have stumbled onto a super dark meme on my feed. But nope, it was real life. It's the kind of twisted plot that no one would write. Well, guess it's a reminder that real-life drama can be way worse than anything on X. Beka Jaiani is now sitting in jail for life. Kesaria's legacy lives on online and in hearts. And hopefully Georgia will rethink its stance on LGBTQ rights after all this. In the end, Kesaria Abramidze wasn't forgotten. People remember her now as the brave model who stood up for herself and others, even amid tragedy. And Beka, well, he's just a cautionary tale of how ugly jealousy and hatred can get.